Hello and welcome to episode 1301 of The Sleeper and the Bust. It is Friday, May 31st. I'm your host, Paul Sporer, joined this morning by Justin Mason. Justin, good morning, sir.
Good morning. How you doing?
Not too bad. We haven't talked in a while. Took the holiday off and then ended up having a bit too much work yesterday that we had to push the Thursday episode as well. So we're going a little bit light right now. It's been a week, but, an occasional blip there when you pair it with the holidays. So don't worry, y'all. We're not slowing down the pod. We're here to talk some pitchers. But how's your week been?
Week's been okay. Dealing with some real work stuff. Not that this isn't real work for me, but budget cuts in California literally eliminated my job without notice. So I'm gonna get a new job within the county that I work for, but all of a sudden there's no money for families on welfare. So that is concerning for all those families and maddening for me. It's been kind of a up and down week.
At least you are protected because you did talk about how they are going to get you another job and everything, but it still throws everything upside down. We could end up with some scheduling differences. Obviously, we'll let y'all know that as soon as we've got details on that. But best of luck, and like I said, hopefully they don't screw you. They give you something that's workable. Because
I've convinced
throwing that on you is brutal.
Yeah, I've convinced them that I'm a pretty good employee. I don't know how I did that, but they like me enough. So I think they're going to take care of me, and hopefully it'll be a schedule. It'll be a schedule you and I can work around, whether or not we have to record at 6 a.m. my time every time we record or not. But we'll figure it out.
Sounds good. We absolutely will. And like I said, this week with just being one episode, that's a rarity, y'all. But let's talk a couple bits of news before we get into the two starts, because the two-start board is a bit light for two different reasons. One, this is a bummer, but there's a handful of 5-game weeks again, which I don't really like. Obviously, I want as much baseball as possible. Although, actually, I'm looking at it. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I thought there was more than just... Yeah, it's just the guys going over to London, Philly, and the Mets. So, okay, so then it's not so much that reason. Then the bigger reason is that a bunch of studs are pitching. Okay, Tampa Bay only has a 5-game week too, so it was more than just those teams. But either way, so 4 teams with 5 games, but then also the bigger reason is just a ton of studs are going, and we don't need to waste y'all's time asking if you're going to start Cutter Crawford. I don't care that he has Atlanta. He gets the White Sox too, like you're starting.
No concern coming off of the bad start this week?
No. Are you benching him?
No, not
okay. I was going to say. And he wasn't very good against Milwaukee either.
And so Atlanta's no longer the team they were with Acuna.
That's a good point on two fronts. A, without Acuna, but even with him, their recent performance had been, under expectations. So either way, with the White Sox start, there's just no way I was going to be sitting Crawford. And so there's a handful of guys like that. You don't need us to tell you guys to start Max Fried, et cetera, et cetera. But let's start with some bummer news, man, because this guy was pitching brilliantly. Clarke Schmidt, he and Luis Gil have paired to basically make it so that Yankees fans haven't missed Gerrit Cole at all. And I don't say that to denigrate Cole. I say that more to prop those guys up, because that was a colossal fear when he went out, that like, oh, we're screwed. Oh, we're all the way screwed. Are you kidding me? No, they're not, because those two have been brilliant. And I know, Schmidt's ERA probably wasn't going to stay at 252, but that's amazing. And a 114 whip. He'd been wonderful. He's going to be out now 4 to 6 weeks with injury. I guess the real question now is, where are you holding him? Are you trying to hang on everywhere with Clarke Schmidt? Are there any shallow formats where you might jump off board now because of this injury? How are you dealing with Clarke Schmidt's situation right now?
So this is a really tough situation, because he's not out 4 to 6 weeks. He is shut down 4 to 6 weeks, which means he then needs time to ramp back up, which means he's probably out closer to 6 to 8 weeks. And now you're talking about half of the remaining season.
Yep. Come back around the deadline-ish.
Yeah,
after the All-Star break type vibe.
yeah, I think after the All-Star break would probably be a really good return estimation, but
Sucks, dude.
I don't know that you can hold him. I don't know if there is a league where I would hold him if I didn't have like an open IL spot. I think you're gonna have to drop him in just about every format.
So you're dropping Schmidt in all NFBC formats, I presume, for
Yeah,
that
for
reason,
sure.
right?
Yeah,
Because there's no ILs. You have 7 reserves. We talk about it all the time. And you probably already have an IL or 2, right? Like, what
yeah.
if you're the Trout person? What if you got Royce Lewis? You know, I mentioned those because those are close to home. I have those guys on a team
Lewis is
together.
at least coming back.
Yeah,
Pretty
he's working
quickly.
back, but like it's tough. Any other one that you have, I've got Bobby Miller who's working his way back at least,
Yeah,
but there's a world where, you know, where you're putting Schmidt on your bench and you already have Trout, Miller, Lewis, some of these other guys that are worth holding, and now you have 3, 4 reserves, and you're just putting yourself behind the 8 ball. So as great as he's been, I think you got to move on. And I'll tell you what, for where you drafted Clarke Schmidt, even though it's only 61 innings, with a 252 ERA, 114 WHIP, 67 Ks, and 5 wins, he gave you enough value, didn't he? Didn't like if you don't even get him back and nothing else comes of it, didn't you get enough value out of Clarke Schmidt for
yeah,
this to actually
absolutely.
be okay anyway?
Yeah, I mean, because more than likely, if you drafted him, he wasn't just a waiver wire pickup for you. Like you got him probably in the last 5 rounds or so
Post
of
pick
your draft.
300 in every main, or not in every main, excuse me, as his ADP, with a min of 273. So the most you were doing
Yeah,
was what would that be then? That would be round 18, 19.
yeah,
That's the highest you paid for Schmidt to get that kind of value. That's great. Now it's a bummer because he's probably helping some teams either bridge the gap for Cole themselves. You know, yeah, you drafted him, you drafted Garrett Cole. Like there's other people out there. Obviously, he got drafted everywhere, so he might have been an instrumental piece for people's rotations, Clarke Schmidt. But I really think you got to jump off right now.
yeah. Because I mean, there is a reasonable outcome where he's not back until after the trade deadline. The Yankees go and pick up a Trevor
2
Williams
guys,
type
yeah.
guy, and all of a sudden he's just a bullpen piece, or they say like, hey, we're locked into a playoff spot come early August, and we're
We'll
just
just
going to
take our
slow
sweet
roast you.
time.
Yeah, we're going to
Yep.
slow roast you and make sure that you are completely healthy for the playoffs. So I think, unfortunately, I think he is just a drop in any format where you don't have an open IL spot.
Yep, that's Clarke Schmidt. Again, it's a super bummer, but you got to pull that trigger in these different formats here. And I really think that having the fortitude to do that, because it is tough to drop a 252 ERA on one of the best teams in the league, because you got that win
Because he
potential.
will get swooped up. Someone will pick him up, but let
And
those
let
people
them.
clog their
Exactly.
benches.
Let them. I really, 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 really think it's the right move, folks, as difficult as it is. And everyone's circumstances are different, but if you don't have a specific IL, Clarke Schmidt, got to go. Another one that's got to go, and this one's easier because you were probably just stashing, trying to get lucky anyway, but prospect Junior Caminero for the Tampa Bay Rays is going to be out 4 to 6 weeks himself, and so that's going to dash those hopes of landing a big prospect before, he costs a ton at Fab. It's a grade 2 quad strain. Now I don't know how bad grade 2 is. If it's bad enough for 4 to 6 weeks, though, it's an easy cut, right? Because
Yeah.
you were only holding him to try to spec anyway. So I think Junior Caminero's cut is pretty easy. Do you see anything out of him? Do you use this as an opportunity to try to go buy in a dynasty? Like what are you doing with the Caminero news here outside of cutting him in any redraft situation?
I just can't imagine you're going to get any discount in a dynasty
Yeah.
situation. He's still top 5 prospect, still only 20 years old. So
What if the discount is just that he's available? Right? Like
yeah,
before they wouldn't have
maybe
traded him. Now he's just at least available, Junior Caminero. So, because I agree with you, no one's going to be selling stupidly or anything in a long-term league. But what if just now a contender says, I wasn't going to trade him, but because I wanted to get his value this year, but now that I'm contending, I'll at least take the mint for him. So I would at least knock on the door if you're not a contending team and you're trying to see if you can get Caminero, right?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, like if there was a team that's contending that had Caminero as a guy like that, he was trying to like, hey, this is gonna be like almost like a big trade. Is I've
Yeah,
got Jimmy
exactly.
Caminero in my minor leagues. Like maybe you see, hey, is he available? I'll pay full freight. I know I'm not getting a discount, but like, what do you want for him? I think that this isn't a bad time to do that. Uh, I just one we never know how long these kind of injuries are going to take to come back from, and two,
Yep.
like he's still 20 years old. Like we don't know how good he's going to be, and I think this
Also true.
begs another conversation about stashing rookies and relying on rookies because we've been really, really lucky over the last few years with rookies coming up and making immediate impacts that are huge for fantasy. And if you look
Mm-hmm.
at the top 5 rookies that were stashed or just drafted because they were going to be in the majors this year, only one of them has been like money, and that's Paul Skeens, the guy who was probably last on the list of guys to stash. And yeah, I think this is just a really good
Cruel
example.
reminder. Yeah.
Yeah, that like it's not usually a good return on your investment to be stashing or drafting rookies at a high price. I mean,
No,
you know,
totally agree. Do you know who
and
the highest? Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think Jackson Churio is gonna be fine. I think
Mm-hmm.
Langford is
Yeah.
gonna be fine. I think Jackson Holiday is gonna be very good at some point. Paul Skeens is obviously, as long as the arm stays attached to his body, is just gonna be an absolute stud.
God, he's
But
amazing.
like there were like Skeens was the guy like you were getting extremely late in redraft leagues. And like you had to hold on to him for quite a while, and hopefully you were able to because he has been worth it so far. But all the other guys, like they ended up being massive overpays. As much as I
Absolutely.
think, Churio, at least you got 5 home runs and 7 stolen bases from. And Langford, I think Langford's going to be better in the second half. He's definitely a buy low guy for me, but uh,
Think so.
it's like, again, this is one of the reasons why I'm a lot more tentative on these rookie players because you just don't know how quickly they're going to translate.
Yeah, and like, Langford was a lock, allegedly. He has a
Yeah.
70 OPS plus. And look, I'm not trying to go and like dunk on people that take risks. I take risks on certain players,
And
and
I
also
drafted
over Evan
Langford.
Carter.
Yeah, I drafted Langford in a couple spots, but I also
Yeah,
drafted him in spots where like I wasn't spending very much in order to get him.
yeah. You had been getting lower than ADP
Mhm.
prices, lower meaning a later pick. I know that can be confusing sometimes because a higher pick is a lower number, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, like it has been, a bucket of cold water this year with the rookies. There aren't a bunch coming up. We were talking about it with regards to, Acuna and everything. We both lost him in leagues. Like the waiver wire is just not producing a ton,
Yeah.
at least not in the 15 team landscape that we play. And it's different in 10s and 12s, I know. But I think even relative for 10s and 12s, I just don't think we've seen the infusion of talent this year. Do you know who the highest WRC plus from a rookie is? He only has 64 plate appearances. You're never gonna guess it. He's from
No.
Oakland. He's from Oakland. If I tell you that, does that even
Tyler
help?
Nevin.
Kyle McCann.
I Yeah, you could have given me fucking
The
40 guesses
initials.
from
Yeah,
just A's players and I wouldn't have
I know.
gotten it.
And then the highest with at least 100 plate appearances is a guy you're definitely gonna know, but not who you would have expected. Is Joey Ortiz with a
Ortiz
150
good.
WRC
Yeah.
plus and 161 plate appearances. So, it just hasn't been the star-studded class. And don't even get me started on pitching. Like, there just isn't pitching coming into
I wonder how
leagues
much
right
like
now.
the massive amount of rookie pitching we got last year is just like there just aren't guys left now.
Well,
Like I mean,
that is an absolute part of it because
yeah.
when you look at top 100 lists and whatnot, even coming into the year, I think we should have known. I mean, we did. Like we talked about it. It's been talked about. We're not the only ones. Like it's been out there. Like pitching is not going to come up in those same waves. It's Skeens, Job at the top, and Job's obviously not up yet. And then a mush of players that somebody could arise from. Like Cade Horton could be that dude when he comes up, but we don't
Ben
know.
Brown's been great. Like
Ben Brown's been awesome, but he was not super touted. He's
Yeah.
a prospect of note, but he was not mega touted. So it's just been a rough landscape out there, and it is just a reminder to be careful. And we do say that a lot, especially with the draft champions. Don't go around drafting a ton of prospects. You'll find yourself without players for positions very quickly. So Caminero, just move on from him in any redraft situation right now, and at least knock on the door in a dynasty if you're not a contending team and the team that has him is a contender, because you might be able to get him. All right, let's talk some two steps. Again, short board because a lot of aces going, and we don't need to tell you about them. But let's start with Arizona. They got a couple of at least moderately intriguing potential streamers here. First being Ryne Nelson. Been having a tough time figuring him out, but he and Slade Cecconi both get the Giants and Padres. It's the Giants at home and then the Padres in San Diego. So let's start with Nelson. He had a really weird pair of starts in a row where Detroit absolutely clobbered him for 8 earned in 4 innings. So you're definitely not going to start him against the Dodgers in LA, right? Okay, how about 5 shutout and a win? Okay, well then I'll get him back in because he's going to go to Texas and they haven't been playing that well, and now he's pitching well. 6 innings, 4 runs. So he's all over the map. Are we getting into a two-step here with Ryne Nelson, and if so, what formats?
I mean, I'm not. I guess in a 15-team league, you probably roll with him because
He's got to be on the board at least, right?
Yeah. But one of the things that was so intriguing about Ryne Nelson coming into last season, when we were really kind of talking about him as a potential sleeper, was he had massive strikeout rates, and that's dried up. So he isn't walking guys, which is good, and the command has been decent for the most part, especially if you cut off those first couple starts where he gave up 2 home runs against Atlanta. But there just isn't enough strikeout upside to warrant him being in real consideration for 10s and 12s. I think in 15s you consider anybody with a 2 start, especially with one of those 2 starts he's against the Giants.
Exactly.
And they're both at home. Arizona's
no. One's in San Diego.
Oh, okay.
But not a bad place to pitch.
Yeah, no, San Diego's a great place to pitch. So San Diego scares me a little bit because that offense is pretty stout. And I do think they are a pretty darn good team, especially if Darvish is okay. And
it's a divisional matchup, so they know Nelson. They've probably seen him a couple. Actually, I don't know. He doesn't have his crazy track record, but he threw 144 innings last year. I would imagine they saw Nelson a few times. So that definitely worries me. The San Diego one.
They've seen him 1 time this year already. So.
And 3 times last year. So they know him. But he did do well against San Francisco. So I agree with you. He's on the board in 15-teamers, Ryne Nelson, but he's down my list a little bit. I'm not dying to get him. I've had him, so he's been on my merry-go-round of pitchers this year. What about Slade Cecconi? Does he do anything more for you or less compared to Nelson? I kind of see him as a Nelson Jr., so that's not a resounding endorsement.
He's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, right? He has got 3 starts in which he's gone at least 5 1/3, and given up 2 runs or less, and he's got 3 starts where he's given up 6 earned runs in each of those 3 starts.
Very devilish.
Including his last 2 starts against
the long
Cincinnati
ball,
and
right?
the Dodgers. 4 home runs given up in his last starts, 8 home runs given up on the year. His walk rate, or his walk per 9 and his homers per 9 are exactly the same at 2.23.
I mean, there's a world where having your homer and walk rates at the same level can be good, but it has to be sub 1.
Yeah, exactly. So
because the 2-point-something walk rate isn't bad, but you can't have a 2.2 home run. So I can't get to Cecconi anywhere. I can get to Nelson. I can't even put Cecconi on the board.
Yeah, no, I don't think I'm putting him on the board either, just because one of those really bad starts was against the Padres. So they clearly saw him well enough. I don't think, outside of NL only, I don't think you're starting Cecconi this week.
Yep, agreed. Let's go out to Cincinnati, and they have a pair of guys going against the same 2 teams. They got to go out to Colorado, which hasn't been as bad this year because they're so bad that the Rockies aren't even taking advantage of their home park. And then they get to host the Cubs. And those two pitchers are going to be Andrew Abbott and Frankie Montas. Kind of a righty-lefty version of each other in terms of general talent tier. They don't do things exactly the same. I'm not saying that, but like I view them similarly as, kind of mid-tier-ish options that are at least on the board. So let's start with Abbott. He's got a nice shiny 3.29 ERA and 113 WHIP. I like both of those. But 46 Ks in 63 innings. Balls in play and ball go far, 1.6 homer 9. That scares me in Colorado. And the Cubs are no slouch coming to Cincy. So I'm a little bit nervous here with Abbott. I think he's on the board, Ryne Nelson style, but I'm trying not to start him here. What do you make of Andrew Abbott so far this year? Because he's been a bit weird with the lack of dominant stuff. Remember, he made his mark last year with all the strikeouts in the minors, then came up to the majors and put up a 26% rate. 18% right now for Andrew Abbott.
I'd like to point out, though, like we saw kind of like the strikeout stuff disappear in the second half last year. And
that's true. It's not brand new that there's no strikeouts.
So, I don't think he is he's like a kitchen sink guy. He's not an overpowering pitcher. And I think the more you watch him pitch, the more you go, oh, this guy's just not very good. And he's gotten away with things for the entire year until really last start on, I think, Tuesday or Wednesday. He had a start where he just got finally shellacked. And I feel like there's going to be more shellackings coming. And so I don't want to deal with him.
When you allow that much contact, like Andrew Abbott does, even a team like St. Louis that's been sputtering this year can get you, and they got him for 6.
And now you're going to Colorado and you're home versus the Cubs who just got Bellinger back. I'm passing on this one.
I'm passing pretty easily with Abbott. Montas probably a lot of the same. I'm a longtime fan of Montas, but his Ks are gone 16% with only a 9% swinging strike, and he doesn't even have the good surface stats to kind of encourage you the way Abbott might. Although maybe that's better because Abbott might be leading people into danger because they look at the ERA and WHIP and say, oh, he's trustable. At least with Montas, he's got the red warning signs of a 4.60 ERA and a 1.40 WHIP saying do not enter. So yeah, I'm passing on both Reds. I think you are too. Let's go ahead and move to my boy, Dr. Sticks, my body comp, Triston McKenzie. He gets Kansas City, who I'm really starting to be afraid of with my non-studs, but then a trip to Miami, which is of course very appealing. So he's been up and down this year. Triston McKenzie has 3.77 ERA, 138 WHIP, and that 138 WHIP is built off an MLB high 34 walks. Worse yet, 1.7 homer 9. So not only does he put a ton of runners on, but a lot of times he lets them trot on in via the homer. So I am very afraid here. He might get on the board, but it would be low. He has walked at least 3 in each of his last 5 starts. My boy Triston McKenzie is not looking good. I don't think I can get here with this, even with the at Miami. Again, he'll be on the board, but it'll be below Ryne Nelson for me. What say you of McKenzie?
I think you're right. I mean, he's given up 6 home runs total in his last 3 starts. And then
2 per is so bad.
You add in the fact that 10 walks in his last 3 starts, on top of those home runs. And I don't think I can get there either. The only reason he is even still got like a palatable ERA, because like the FIP and XFIP are over 5.
Oh my God.
Is because he's, had just a really low BABIP. He's got a 231 BABIP this year.
Still tough to square up. But if you just go up there with the bat on your shoulder, McKenzie will put you on eventually, it seems.
Or he'll lay a meatball in once he gets behind.
Yeah.
So, like he throws too many balls early on in the count, and then he's got to come in with a fastball. And the fastball velocity is down this year. So he's a lot more hittable when he does kind of go, have to attack the zone of that fastball. So I also think that it's just a matter of time before his arm falls off. So I'm
That's also a big concern, of course, is the health piece with McKenzie. So yeah, I got to be honest. As we kind of talk more and I just stare more at these stats, I'm not even sure I'm putting him on the board. I was saying I'll put him on the board below Ryne Nelson. I don't think so. I think I'd go Andrew Abbott over McKenzie.
I think I would too.
I just don't
Yeah,
see the
this is
upside.
gonna be a really hard week to write my 2-star article.
Yes.
I don't usually write anything for the must starts and the I'm not gonna start guys.
Or it'll be easy because you just put no, copy
Yeah.
paste, no.
Well, I have to hit a certain word limit
Okay.
to get paid, so that's the hard part.
We find creative ways to say that Triston McKenzie walks too many and gives up way too many homers. I got to be honest, I'm probably more interested in both of these next guys. And spoiler alert, they pitch for Colorado. Now, you know, I've been on that Ryan Feltner train. I've been trying to make that a thing where my fans of Mean Girls at. I've been trying to make fetch happen. And I'm not going to make Ryan Feltner a thing. It's not working. But he and Ty Blach, they get Cincy, you know, they'll be part of that Abbott Montas situation, but then they go to St. Louis, which isn't terrible. St. Louis has a solid offense, but the park is nice. Again, I like Feltner. I think he's a talented pitcher, but he's not making hay on the road, which he needs to do to absorb the home stats, and so it's just not working. 546 ERA and a 150 WHIP. I'm not joking, though. I would rather go for Feltner over McKenzie, but that speaks more against McKenzie than it does pro Feltner. Ty Blach, for his part, has been pretty solid. You know, he's a decent lefty, 4.15 ERA, 127 WHIP. Couldn't strike you out, though. And that's the problem with him, Justin, is that Ty Blach just doesn't miss bats, so the ball is in play a ton. That said, he's coming off back-to-back gems at home. 6 2/3, 2 runs against Philly, 7 innings, 2 runs against Cleveland. So 2 very formidable ball clubs that he dominated. Is that enough to get you any interest in Ty Blach? And then you can also speak on Ryan Feltner, who I think you've had similar interest to me, but it's just not working. So where are you at on the 2 Rockies?
It's such both these guys, both Feltner and Blach, are such weird profiles. So
They really are.
Blach and Feltner have both struggled on the road this year,
Which is crazy.
Better at home, and so which is like you're like, oh well, maybe they're figuring out their home park and coolers, and they can be good everywhere. And no, it just means I can't trust them anywhere.
Exactly.
At least just hurts. You know, like Austin Gomber is terrible at home and pretty darn good on the road usually.
Yeah, but you can kind of bet on that.
I can kind of trust Gomber on the road. I can't trust either of these guys at home or on the road because I'm never going to be like, well, he's good at home, I'm going to put him in my lineup this week. So,
totally agree. There.
Like like these aren't even that good of matchups, right? You get, you know, Cincinnati in Colorado, like that to me just screams like massive regression week for their home stats. And then going to St. Louis, St. Louis is fine. I wouldn't,
but I don't want to do it.
Yeah, if it was a week where, or if I was in a league where it is like, you know, daily lineups, like I could just start him for the back half, I might entertain that in a 15.
Blach or Feltner or both?
Both, I think.
Okay, yeah, I would consider it. I might be a little bit more intrigued by Blach right now, despite the strikeouts, because he is running hot. And there is data to back up like the idea of running hot as a pitcher. The problem is you don't know when it's going to end. So you can ride a hot streak, but you know, you can get snapped off by it too if the end comes crashing down hard. But I would at least consider the St. Louis start. I can't get there for the 2-step because of Cincy for either of them, though. I agree with you there. All right, moving on from those 2 guys. Jake Woodford, former Cardinal, now pitches for the White Sox. I put him on just to be nice, but it's at the Cubs and home to Boston. It's an easy no, correct?
Yeah, I think it's a pretty easy no. Woodford's a guy like that I think is interesting, and being in a place like Chicago where he can kind of be in the back end of their rotation.
He'll get opportunities, right?
Yeah, exactly. He is, you know, he struggles with command and control. I mean, you see this, you know, you saw this last year in St. Louis, but he was also being kind of dicked around between the rotation and, you know, and the bullpen. So I'm a little intrigued. I don't think he can go deep enough into games yet to warrant starting in any format, but he's a guy that I'm going to keep an eye on, especially in 15-team leagues, because it is just so sparse of a waiver wire right now. To try to find guys that I want to have, you know, maybe options if he can start to lengthen himself. Because, you know, decent first start, you know, you gave up, you know, too many runs, you know, 3 runs in 4 1/3, but he also struck out 4. I'm keeping an eye on him, but I'm not starting him anywhere this week.
I remember keeping tabs on Jake Woodford when he was with St. Louis. So yeah, at least keep tabs because, like you said, man, there just isn't much to go for in 15. So I know some of you 10 and 12 team folks are probably laughing at us even considering Woodford, but it is sparse out there, y'all. We have to look at the Colorado and White Sox pitchers to even possibly have some potential options. But it is a no this week with Woodford. He would need to do some things to kind of get on my radar, but he's at least a name to know. Tyler Anderson, it has been amazing. I guess he refound Mark Pryor's number. We were making a bunch of jokes last year about how he only went to the Angels to stay close. In case things are going south, he could just bounce over there and talk with Mark Pryor, the pitching coach for the Dodgers. Well, it went horribly. 5.43 ERA, 1.49 WHIP. It was just an absolute nightmare of a season. Seemed to forget everything that he learned with the Dodgers. But this year, he's got his groove back. 2.47 ERA, 1.13 WHIP. Not a strikeout guy. Does have 5 wins, so despite being an Angel, he's finding some dubs. He gets the Padres and Astros at home. He's been running hot. Are we going with Tyler Anderson in 12s and 10s? I think in 15s you have to. So I'm not even bringing that up as a potential question. I think what else how deep is your pitching that you could afford to skip a 2-step Tyler Anderson? So what about 10s and 12s with Tyler Anderson? Does he make consideration there?
So if we want to make this an even shorter podcast, and it's going to be, I could just clip the audio from what I'm about to say on Tyler Anderson and use it for Trevor Williams later.
Yeah, copy and paste.
Because you can't keep getting away with this.
Yes, we need to just play that. We need to have that clip on a soundboard for these pictures.
The Jesse Breaking Bad, you
can't keep
getting away with it. But somehow he is. It is a 211 BABIP is just unsustainably low, even for a guy who can run a lower BABIP. Than you would expect. And 87% strand rate, that's got to come down. He's gonna have a regression week. It's probably this week, and so I'm very but you and I were talking about this before the start of the podcast. How many innings, quality innings, have been on my bench in my main event team where I'm trying to protect myself from blowups, and I'm leaving Trevor Williams and Tyler Anderson on my bench, and all of a sudden,
they're dominating.
They're just dominating my bench. So I can't imagine trying to start them either Trevor Williams or Tyler Anderson. We'll talk more about Trevor Williams here in a little bit, but I can't imagine starting either of them in a 10 or a 12. But at some point, the regression will catch up. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah. You're right that this
holding the bag.
Yeah, this could be the week. Javier Assad just had his regression week, and it came in a 2-step that included Atlanta. And I think the people that were starting him kind of were holding their nose, knowing that, hey, I'm going to roll with this guy who's got a 1.49 ERA. But I know with Atlanta, St. Louis, that this could go south, and it did. He gave up 4 homers. He hadn't given up a single homer in his 6 previous starts. And it ended up being a 5.59 ERA in 9 2/3. That's exactly what could happen to Tyler Anderson. At the same time, I can understand people that are going with him because he's been pitching so well and you might not have a ton of options. He just allowed 1 run in 5 innings to the Yankees, but it was with 10 base runners. So he got lucky there. I will definitely use the luck word for that start. But he was amazing in Houston before that. 8 innings, 1 run on 8 base runners. Go ahead, Tyler Anderson. What did you want to say about him?
Well, it's mostly about the teams he's facing.
Okay.
While the Astros are the 10th best team in OPS versus left-handed pitching, the Padres are the 26th. So it's not like the Padres are the scary part of this matchup.
They have star talent that we know can get them on a given night, but you're right. Their performance has not necessarily been, terrifying. So I do agree with that part. That's why I think I can get there in a 12 team with Tyler Anderson. But I'm doing the Javier Assad thing where I'm this could definitely go south. And so
Yeah,
I'm just going in eyes wide open.
I think it really
That's
depends on what my options are. Like
Absolutely.
if I had even like mediocre options, I'm probably sending Tyler Anderson.
Yeah, I'm finding a way to not start him if I can, and try to see if this regression can blow over this week, and maybe I can dodge it, because then he gets a trip to your Giants next week, which is a revenge game. Do you remember when he was a Giant?
I do. That's when the career turnaround really started.
That's right.
It got much better in LA, but it started.
But it did start with the Giants. I agree. But yeah, so Tyler Anderson, we're really trying not to. Again, 15s. I think you're running with it. If you've got enough depth that you can avoid it, cool. But my experience in the 15s this year is that you don't. This is another one for the shallower leagues, because not everyone has the same love for this guy that we do. So I do think we have to at least discuss Bailey Ober. 4.89 ERA, but a 1.11 WHIP and 58 Ks in 58 innings. And you can just do the whole, like, if you remove the KC starts, he's a god.
If you remove the first start and the most recent start, he's got a 3.02 ERA.
Those are the KC starts. That's what I'm saying. He's got a 3.02.
Oh, I thought one of them was a different.
No, both are KC. They whooped him again. And somebody even asked me in my chat, I'm nervous about starting Ober because of what happened on opening day. I was like, yeah, no, I get it, but I'm still going to stick with him because he's been awesome since. Don't worry about it.
Just and then, of course, he gets versus Kansas City. Like,
they're running him this
really,
year.
really good in every other start. Like, it's just like he's just been dominant outside of those two starts. So
you're not taking Ober out anywhere, right?
No, I'm not. Like let
me ask you.
I know that the Yankees start is scary, but I'm just.
But then it's at Pitt. Sorry, I didn't say the teams. It's at New York, at the Yankees, and at Pittsburgh. Yes, the Yankees are very difficult, but Ober, again, he's been standing up to every other challenger besides KC this year. I guess Cleveland got him for 5 as well, but that's another divisional one. So it seems if the teams see him a bunch, maybe they get to him. Here's the real question. The next KC start, are you going to start Ober, or are you worried that they have his number? How much faith do you put into that?
I'm probably not going to start him. I mean, it depends on what my other options are.
Sure, and when it comes up and all that, I understand. But let's say it was in 2 weeks. You're leaning toward no.
Well, I mean, Kansas City.
I mean, I get it.
Scary.
They're also good, right? Yeah, this isn't like the White Sox randomly beating up a guy twice. This is a very good team in division that's hitting a guy very hard both times. I don't know. Push come to shove, I'm probably still starting. He's given up 10 homers this year, Bailey Ober. 6 to the Royals. 6. They are running him. But he gets, after this, at Yankees, at Pittsburgh, he gets Oakland. So, you're feeling all right these next couple of weeks here with Ober. I just wanted to make sure that you were still good with him. You're not benching him in 10s, right? Even with the Yankees?
I don't think so. I mean, unless I've got just a stacked, there are situations, and I've run into situations this year, especially in my 12-team leagues, where I just have so many good options on my pitching where it's
you can be deep enough.
I've got to sit that, a certain guy because I just have too many options. But I think in most leagues, I'm probably starting Ober.
Yeah, I agree. There are certain format situations where you might have super deep pitching and you can avoid this because of the Yankees start. But if I'm pushed up against, I'm looking to start him more than I'm looking to sit Ober personally. Matt Waldron, the knuckler, goes to the Angels and hosts Arizona. What do you make of the knuckleballer? He has that knuckleball inconsistency. Do you find any room for him in any of your lineups, Matt Waldron?
I started and I streamed him this week.
Let's go. 7 scoreless.
7 scoreless, versus Miami. So, but that was more it's versus Miami than anything else. But I'm very intrigued by Waldron. I have this idea of who Waldron is because I grew up watching Tim Wakefield. And always loving watching Wakefield pitch, but always hating him on my fantasy teams because he would just, he'd get blown up.
Because sometimes when the knuckle isn't working, it just does not matter. It's just going to be a rotten start.
I can't remember who it was that pointed out to me. It might have been Ray Kuhn on the Friends of Fantasy Benefits podcast. and he actually may have actually even been one of the commenters. But they're like, yeah, he doesn't throw the knuckleball as often as a normal knuckleballer. He's not like, he's got other pitches, like, and I think he throws like 90
and like a real fast
fastball. Yeah. So like, it's not like he's got like a Tim Wakefield knuckleball that's going like 55 miles an hour either. So, so, and I think he throws it 30% of the time or around there. So it's more of an out pitch than it is like an actual like pitch
foundational pitch.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm
which
not
is
like
interesting.
Yeah, it's actually really great because it gives you such a different look coming out of his hand compared to speaking to the fastball, that if you are sitting on that, then you're never catching up to the fastball. So
absolutely.
I like him quite a bit, and because he doesn't throw that knuckle so much, like I'm much more intrigued in him, and he does pitch in a really good park. These matchups specifically,
not too bad.
Against the Angels without Trout and Arizona, who's kind of been middle of the pack for the most part this year.
They whooped him. His worst start was against them. I'm not saying that to like dissuade you on Matt Waldron, just to point out that his 8 runs, 7 of them earned, was against Arizona. I don't think that moves me off this, because as we talk about all the time, one previous start does not guarantee success or failure the next time you see that team, especially if you're facing them twice in a row. But
they're 25th against right-handed pitching.
They've been sputtering a bit offensively, probably a big part of that being Corbin Carroll.
The Angels are 21st. This is 2 pretty good matchups right here, and he's looked about as good as he ever has. So I think I am rolling with Waldron in just about every format if I've got.
I think 15s easy start, 12s pretty much start, and then 10s I think he's on the board at least.
Yeah.
Again, with the 10s,
no, I wouldn't start him over I wouldn't start him over Ober. No. But I think I start him over. Here's a good question. Start him over Tyler Anderson.
I think so.
I think I would.
I think I start Matt Waldron over Tyler Anderson. Yes. And they might even be squaring off. Let me see. Is that who? Yeah, they are. So
that may be my favorite pitching matchup to watch.
That's a fun matchup. I love those like mid-tier guy matchups where it's just like 2 dudes that I'm keyed in on. They're not marquee. That will be. I gotta imagine it's just a standard evening game. It's Monday, so there's not usually Monday day games.
I'm just wondering if I could find time to do like a watch party, because that would be actually
Monday fun at 6:38 your time.
Ooh, I might do a watch party. That if people want to do a watch party in the Discord Monday night for that game, I would definitely be open to that.
That's a fun one. That's definitely a fun one. If you end up getting it together, at least ping me. Let me know.
Okay.
I'll see if I'm around on Monday night, because I would love to hang out too. All right, next up we've got Kyle Gibson, our boy, doing very Kyle Gibson things, right? Like very much having a Kyle Gibson season.
Not doing my yard work, which is disappointing.
Grass has become unruly, but ERA down to 3.60 with a whip of 122, very palatable. 52 Ks in 65 innings, 4 wins. Again, doing very much Kyle Gibson-y things, but he goes to Houston, but then hosts Colorado. So you love even if Houston gets to him a bit, if they don't completely spoil the week, you love the capper there against Colorado. What do you think of our boy Gibby? Is he starting everywhere right now?
That Houston one is really, really scary.
Definitely.
I don't think I'm doing it in 10s or 12s. I think 15s is probably the only spot I'm doing it. Houston's the 4th best team against right-handed pitching this year.
They are scary. And I've been trying to tell people that the whole time, like as they've been struggling, it's not the offense. Don't just get in your mind that, they suck. I can start anybody against Houston. It is all the pitching. And even that's starting to turn around too. So you got to be careful with them.
Yeah, they've got a 741 OPS against right-handed pitching this year, and I think I'm probably passing on that first half in 10s and 12s. In 15s, you may not have better options, and if that's
I doubt you do.
Get it. especially when you get Colorado, who, is pretty much like middle of the pack, the 17th against right-handed pitching, but they're going from a home series to a away series, and you always want to attack that first series on the road
right after
against the hitters. So I think if I could just start the second half of the week, I would definitely do it in 12s. But I think 15s is probably the only place I'm even considering it for the full week.
I'm a bit more in on the 12 with Gibby. It does depend what's available. It's one of those, if I could find somebody else, sure. But I think I can get there. It is tough. It is really tough. That Houston start is terrifying. And if it's bad enough, then it won't matter what he does against Colorado. So I do understand that, but I'm just a bit more in on the 12. I'm with you on 10s. You can find different starters over Kyle Gibson. But he's just been so good that I'm willing to give him a shot in 12s. And 15s, again, I agree. I don't think you have enough pitching that you could skip him. Well, this guy reeled everyone back in before promptly smacking them in the face and saying, nope, I'm not good again just yet. Alek Manoah gets trounced at Detroit, just like everyone drew it up. But he gets Baltimore and at Oakland, so another like one up, one down situation.
Does he though? He left to start early with elbow soreness. So
that's right. Okay, I see an inning and 2/3 here, so we don't even know. Yeah. Okay,
he's getting an MRI today, I believe.
If he was cleared, would you start Alek Manoah for this? Even if he was cleared? No, there's an easy answer. It's no.
No, I don't think I would. I mean, I refuse to pick him up. Like, I refuse to even put him in my waterfall. Like, it just like
same.
I didn't feel like I deserved to deal with the trauma again after dealing with it last year. Watching him single-handedly sink my Gladiator team. I can't do it. I just can't. I can't do it either. But I don't know. I mean, I think he's probably going to the IL anyways, so this is probably not going to
be moot. Yeah,
probably not going to be.
I forgot he went out. I didn't even have to put him on here, but I root for him. I really do. Like, I'm not here to poke fun and kick him while he's down, but you couldn't get me on board even after the decent. No. I was like, this is a wait and see, and if I miss out on him, because I know
if I miss out, I miss out. I'm just not gonna like. I'm like it's.
I know you have to jump early in today's game. I just couldn't do it. And like you said, your blood pressure can be through the roof with this guy every single time he starts. And I just don't want to deal with it. So, that's where I'm at with Alek Manoah. I do wish him well, though, on the health piece. I hope that he's not out for a long time. But, if he's not even starting, then you don't have to worry about it. All right, this is not a question of starting him. We are definitely starting MacKenzie Gore. And he gets the Mets in Atlanta. But, again, he's being started everywhere. This is a classic check-in, though. Is your boy a stud? And do you have him anywhere? I think I've asked you this already this year, but I forget. You got him everywhere last year, and he was okay.
Not just last year, the last 2 years I had him
last everywhere. 2 years, you've been Gore's biggest fan, and you were just a couple, classic year early. I've been there.
No, I don't have him in a single league. I just looked.
291 ERA, 128 WHIP, 72 Ks in 58 2/3. Where are we at on MacKenzie Gore? Is he in all formats lock right now in the rotation? How are you dealing with him if you had him?
I think he's an all formats stud. Like, I think it's unreal like that. Like, I mean, and it happens to everybody. You're the king of the being a year too early.
Yeah.
It's just. He's had one bad start this year, the 4-inning dud where he gave up 7 hits and 3 earned runs versus Houston in April.
And even that could have gone worse. 8 base runners, only 3 of them scored.
And I guess, he did have a dud versus Toronto, but
he got lucky.
4 of those runs were unearned. So, I'm a little bummed in myself because, in some ways, you could be like, hey, he's actually gotten unlucky. He's got a
I know.
353 BABIP. Like this could actually be better than it's
Yep.
been. I also think he's been a huge beneficiary of the deader ball, because he's got a sub 10 home run to fly ball, or sub 10% home run to fly ball rate.
Half of what it was last year. 18% down to 9% for MacKenzie Gore.
So, but the strikeouts
He's also cut the walk rate.
The walk rate's been great.
Yeah.
When you watch him pitch, you see everything. Like, this is like the epitome of just a post type sleeper, right? A guy
this is exactly
everybody was excited about for years. He struggled in his first couple seasons, and if you just took a dart throw late, and I remember saying it earlier in spring training, in draft season, like, why are people going after MacKenzie Gore? He's garbage.
And they're done that. This guy's trash.
I'm not falling for this one again. But I'm happy for him, and I'll be back in next year when I'll pay the full freight. But I also think I think it's been a little hidden, right? Like, I think
so too.
Because he's in Washington, and like, and that team is so bad. Like, I think it has been a little bit hidden that how good he has been. So I don't know if you're going to have to overpay for him next year either. Like, I don't think he's going to be like a top 5 rounds starting pitcher.
Well, it depends how well he does in the summer. He could become, the next big phenomenon, MacKenzie Gore, because he did have great prospect status, and there was reason for you to be in the way you were. He's doing exactly what you thought he could do and what you were trying to spike last year. Again, it's just the classic year early, which is a bummer, but it
doesn't hurt as much. Yeah, it doesn't hurt as much when, like, I think about the fact that most of my pitching calls have been pretty darn good this year.
Yeah,
like,
you've had good pitching.
Yeah, my pitching has been great in the majority of my leagues. So, like, it doesn't hurt as much as it probably could, but it still does hurt. I
feel you, because you like literally had him everywhere last year. So yeah, we're all in on MacKenzie Gore. Nick Pollock is very big on him too. We've talked about him on the Fireside a couple of times. He's, like I said, got him sky high right now. He totally believes. And I'm there. I really am excited about MacKenzie Gore. His teammate that you alluded to earlier, Trevor Williams, also gets this Mets Atlanta home double dip. This guy's been amazing, and you are no doubt not the only one that has gotten a bunch of his goodness on your bench. It's nice to have depth, because, we're not uber confident in starting him, and yet here he is, 11 starts in with a 2.22 ERA and 108 whip, 47 Ks and 57 innings, but a 5-0 record. Oh my God, that's more wins than my entire fantasy team. But Trevor Williams, are we starting him? Do we have to get him to a spot where he's locked into rotations? What are you doing with T. Willie?
I mean, he's definitely locked in your rotation this week in every format. He's going up against a Mets team that may not have their best player and isn't very good around that best player, in Pete Alonso, who got his hand hit by one of my Giants pitchers. So, and
Bastards.
Now he also gets Atlanta, who he just shoved against, and they're missing their best player in Ronald Acuna. So
yeah.
I think he is easily a must start. I also think there has to be regression coming at some point. Like, this is not going to work this well, or even close to this well, rest of the way. He's got a 270 BABIP. He's a career 300 guy. He was a 316 BABIP guy last year. That being said, he is pitching probably the best of his career, which is like, and like, I don't like, I'm not even like just talking about like the results from a result standpoint. Like, he's actually pitching better than he has his entire career. And he's doing a really good job at getting ground balls and attacking the zone, inducing weak contact. There's been
a big pitch mix change with Trevor Williams too. Big downshift of 10 points in the fastball. He's funneled it all into the slider. So when I see a tangible change like that too, yes, he's running hot, right? Everything is going well for him, but he's also doing things to fuel that. So I've got some love here for Trevor Williams. I agree with you. He's in the lineup, potentially everywhere. Again, in 10-teamers, you can have a deep enough rotation that you don't have to start him. But he also gets Miami next week. So if you're picking him up in a 10-teamer, you can hold him beyond this week. You can get 3 starts out of him at least before we reassess after the Miami start, because that's an automatic start too for Trevor.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess I feel a little bit better about Trevor Williams than I do about Tyler Anderson, but I think you're just rolling with it, like until like my co-host over on Sleep in the Bust and his co-host, or sorry, co-host at not Sleep in the Bust, but co-host at Friends of Fantasy Benefits, Dave McDonald, and his co-host on his other podcast, Jake Hallisker, have been making fun of me for rostering Trevor Williams.
So far, you got the last laugh.
They have gone oddly quiet over the last few weeks.
Oh, you're not hearing much from them lately?
Yeah. Now part of that is I haven't had a chance to record with Dave in a couple weeks, so that because Dave doesn't like to be quiet no matter what happens. But
you gotta get an episode going before.
We'll record on Monday. Yeah, we'll record on Monday before these starts go live. So yeah, I mean, I think you just have to roll with it. Like this feels very like it's obviously a different profile of the pitcher, right? Like I'm not comparing him to Bryce Elder. But remember when Bryce Elder was like the best pitcher in baseball for like?
But wait, like isn't it almost exactly the same though?
No, Bryce Elder was pitching a lot more to contact. We're talking like he had like a 92 or 93% zone contact rate.
That's true.
When he was doing that, he was really trying to induce contact, and you kept looking, going, and he was running with a really low BABIP, and like you knew it was all going to fall apart, and very quickly, and it did eventually. Like I think he got like murdered in August, and it was finally like okay, he went from being like a high 2s ERA pitcher to a 5 ERA pitcher real fast.
Yeah, life comes at you fast on those ones.
I remember too, like being in a league where like I had Bryce Elder. And like I was doing everything I could to try to trade him, and like nobody was
working.
Nobody was believing me. Well, especially because like people in my leagues often, NFBC I don't think quite as much, but like in my home leagues, like they read my stuff.
So like they're always looking askew at what you want. Like what's he want my guy for? What's he up to?
And when they're seeing like Bryce Elder on my sell high list every single week, they're like, why would I trade you? Like literally just give me $1 in fab and you can have Bryce Elder.
They're like, nope, we read your stuff. Nice try, clown. Yeah, that's pretty funny. But no, Williams is doing a lot to, fuel this. Like I said, there is a come down coming. I don't fully believe it. But I also don't want to pretend that it's just pure unadulterated luck either. Trevor Williams
did the Nationals get like a new pitching coach or something?
Dude,
like that?
I don't know because they got some shit working. Mitchell Parker, let's throw him in there. Jake Irvin's been pitching well.
Yeah.
Nobody can fix Patrick Corbin, but yeah, they've got
or Josiah Gray.
Well, yeah, and he's hurt now
he's
too.
Hurt, yeah.
But they've got 4 capable starters with Gore, Parker, Williams, and Irvin right now, and they play a little feisty ball. Like they're not an automatic walkover when you go into DC. So
they're not a good team by any stretch of the imagination. No. But they're not like this bottom feeder team. I mean, they're ahead of the Mets right now. They're only 3 games below 500. Like
they're not a pure walkover. Like again, you're not going. Don't just blindly say, "Oh, Nats, that's easy dubs."
Imagine if they had like some top prospects, like offensive prospects that they could bring up.
Man, that'd be crazy. Like what if you had like I don't know, like 2 of the
James
best outfield
Wood,
prospects in baseball or
Dylan. Now James Wood, like and like this is not my information. I'm relying on prospect guys for this, but apparently he is really really bad defensively, and
I can believe
that he actually deserves to be staying in the minor league.
Yeah, like and with his body, he's 6'7", 230, like.
Probably a DH, right? Like
he might be a DH, might already have to get moved to first base, but his bat is so good. Why not let him figure out the defense at the major league level?
Did you hear? Because Gallo's on the Nationals, right?
Yes.
Did you hear about this Gallo stuff?
No, what happened?
So apparently there is like this Instagram influencer who like is pregnant, and she had been at a game with Mark Davis, a Raiders game with Mark, like sitting next to Mark Davis.
Yeah. That lady, I know.
Yeah. Apparently it's Joey Gallo's baby.
And they said it was Mark Davis's?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I heard about that girl.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
So apparently it is Joey Gallo's baby.
Imagine your girl being associated with Mark Davis is one of the most hideous looking people in the universe. I'm sorry, dude.
Yeah.
He's so grimy looking. It's not just the haircut. He looks like a scab. I'm sorry.
I mean, he
It's
looks
not
like if the Chucky
kind.
doll aged.
That's like 100% it.
Yeah.
But yeah, this whole thing popped up and somebody started a whole lie about it. Apparently some clown in the football universe, what was this guy named Dove or something? Dove Climbing? Because there's a whole scandal with that too, with the guy who started the rumor. Apparently, like,
well, and then Pat McAfee on his show repeated the rumor,
blew it up. Yes.
Yeah.
So then he, obviously he's got major popularity. So then it became a massive thing, and he's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I perpetuated this."
Some breaking news in the chat right here.
Yes, let's hear it.
Brett saying that Jeff Passan has said Christian Scott and Brett Beatty sent down AAA.
All right, let's talk about some real baseball stuff here then instead of this baby drama. So Scott, is this just innings protection, we think? Because he hadn't been bad.
I'm guessing.
That's actually kind of a nightmare, dude. We're already talking about how there's no freaking pitching available in 15s, and now they're sending down one of the best pickups of the year.
Yeah.
He was going to get a start against these Nats. Oh my God.
Yeah, like that's really crazy. Why would
they?
I mean, Brett Beatty, like, they were kidding. What?
I was gonna say they weren't kidding about this year being a transition year. They fucking blow, dude.
Yeah, like this.
I kind of thought it was bullshit. I thought it was a little bit of bluster. I was like, oh no, they're not gonna just give up a year. They'll be in the mix. No, they're terrible, dude.
Yeah.
And yet, like you said, Beatty, that one's not terribly surprising. He has an 86 OPS plus with 4 bombs. Okay, he can go get some more playing time down there.
Vientos is gonna like fall apart. Like the underlying skills are.
I'm pro
very
Vientos.
Mark
So
Vientos.
let him just mash bombs. I like Beatty as well, so I like both guys. But if you got to send Beatty down, I get it. But Scott, that has to be innings protection.
I would assume so. I mean, how many? Let's see. Last year he threw just 87 and 2/3. So, and he's already at 53 innings this year. So
it's also 25 though, so I don't know that they have to super baby him, but they're also bad. So you keep adding all these factors in, and Christian
but don't
Scott
you want to build him up?
No, I agree. That's why I would keep pitching him.
Just keep pitching him and then shut him down when you're ready to shut him down. Like
if it has to be done.
Like
Speaking of the other New York team with their young pitcher that's pitching brilliantly, did you see that Luis Gil no restrictions right now?
Well, now they can't. I think they were planning on...
This was before the Schmidt news. They said it's full systems go. They're not worried
But there was a rumor, like a week or two ago, because I wrote about it over on Fantasy Pros, where they were saying like he's probably going to move into a bullpen role once Cole comes back. But now I don't think they can.
Oh, well, yeah, maybe that would have been one way to kind of, stifle his innings artificially. Yeah, I see that potential bullpen weapon. But now they're like, no, it's all systems go. I don't know if it was in response to the Schmidt thing. Because this was the first I'd seen. I missed the bullpen thing that you were talking about. But yeah, I don't think that they're going to hold him back. I mean, Luis Gil, I know he has like 4 combined innings the last 2 years, but he's 26.
Yeah,
and they need him. They're a contender, and he's pitching brilliantly. Like shelving him doesn't work.
And if they didn't have the money to like go out and get another piece in prior to the start of the season, right, during free agency after getting Soto, like, are they going to have the money to make a major acquisition without like giving up like a massive amount of their farm system for someone eating like a remainder of contracts? So I think they really need Gil to like, provide them innings. And if his arm falls off, his arm falls off. But like they're like, they look really, really good, and they're in a dogfight in that division with the Orioles. They don't want to be the wild card. They want to win that division. So
absolutely,
I'd be very surprised if Gil gets shifted away from that. Right, he's just been too good.
He's just been amazing. I just don't see I just don't see how you get away from a guy pitching that well when you're a full-on contender too. So I'm with you there. But that's going to wrap it up.
Great job in the chat, guys. Good.
Oh yeah,
very
big
great,
help there, Brett, pulling that in. He also made a good comment earlier too when we were talking about the year early. Best thing about being a year early on a guy is you can pay next year for the regression, which I love to do. You can overpay for the regression. I do that because I will jump back in. I will say one good thing about the year early is I generally stick with a guy though. So if they do eventually come around, I usually get a little piece of that.
Reed Detmers and Patrick Zandvoort working out great in that regard.
I have to go, you piece of shit. Have a good weekend. I love you and hate you at the same time. Are you guys talking on Sunday?
I believe we will. I got to double check with Jason to make sure that we can.
We'll be back Monday. We'll do 3 episodes next week. We'll be back on our normal schedule. But have a good one. Good luck with everything on the work front, and good luck with fab bidding this week too.
Congratulations to Joey Gallo.
Yeah, and not Mark Davis apparently. Bye.